Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Today, we are diving deep into the stylish, violent, and surprisingly mythological world of the John Wick franchise.
It's a fascinating world to get lost in.
It really is. We're talking about a cinematic phenomenon that began, and I think you have to remember this, as a pretty modest, mid-budget revenge thriller.
Oh, totally.
It was initially titled Scorn, which, I mean, that sounds like a straight-to-DVD movie from the early 2000s, right?
It absolutely does. And yet somehow this thing just unexpectedly ballooned into a global billion-dollar cinematic universe.
That's the story we're getting into.
What's fascinating here, and this is really the core of our mission today, is to understand the mechanics of how that happened.
Because it wasn't an accident.
Not at all. It wasn't just luck. It was a very deliberate, I'd say inspired shift in how they thought about making these films.
And the sources we've looked at really bear that out.
They do. We've analyzed everything from the dusty original production notes on stunt coordination through all the hard box office data, right up to the really intricate corporate strategies behind this current wave of spin-offs.
So we're aiming to understand three core things here, three revolutions, really.
Right. First, how the action style completely reset the bar for Hollywood stunt work. I mean, it changed everything.
Second, how it just simultaneously fueled this spectacular resurgence of Keanu Reeves' career.
The Keanu Essence, as they call it.
Exactly. And third, how the whole infrastructure of this ever-expanding Wickverse was engineered from the ground up to sustain a billion-dollar brand.
And you really can't start that story without acknowledging the sheer paradox at the heart of that first film.
It's one of the greatest Hollywood stories of the last decade, isn't it?
It really is. The sources show so clearly that John Wick nearly didn't happen.
Expectations were hovering right around zero.
Below zero, maybe? You have Keanu Reeves, who, let's be honest, was coming off a string of some pretty high-profile box office disappointments.
Yeah, the sources specifically cite films like 47 Ronin and Man of Tai Chi. Big failures.
Huge failures. His star power was genuinely being questioned at that point.
And on top of that, you have the central motivation for the entire plot.
Which was nearly a fatal flaw in the eyes of the producers, wasn't it?
It really was. That initial, seemingly absurd motivation avenging the death of a puppy.
His wife's final gift.
Right. Yeah. That was a major point of contention among the finance people. They worried it was just too ridiculous.
Too lightweight, yeah. How could that possibly justify the immense glorious carnage that follows?
But the beauty of it, and this is the core of its success, is that the original film didn't succeed despite these constraints.
No, it succeeded arguably because of them.
That low expectation and that very modest budget actually became the franchise's secret weapon.
It did. We're talking about an initial budget of, what, somewhere in the $20 to $30 million range?
That's tiny for a star-led action film.
It's nothing. And that financial constraint, it forced them to innovate. They had to innovate in camera technique instead of just, relying on expensive wire work or complicated CGI.
Or building multiple large sets.
Exactly. And that ultimately refined the action design into something truly groundbreaking and, importantly, economical.
And the market's response was, it was immediate and surprising.
Totally surprising. The film grossed $86 million globally. It just blew past expectations.
And it proved that there was this deep unmet appetite for this new kind of action hero.
For this kind of focused, mythologically rich, yet emotionally simple hero, it was a clear signal, a disruption to the Hollywood action factory.
So let's start where any good story starts. The genesis, the original script.
Scorn,
written by Derek Kolstad. And what's fascinating about this initial concept is the really rich tapestry of influences he was drawing on. It helps explain the film's unique kind of hybrid tone.
Oh, he was pulling from incredibly diverse sources. On one hand, you have the highbrow cinematic stuff. He was influenced by neo-noir films, referencing specific works like the Coen brothers' Miller's Crossing.
A classic.
A total classic. And then classic revenge films, the existential weight of spaghetti westerns. You can really feel the deliberate pacing of Sergio Leone in there.
But then he fused that with something completely different.
He did. He fused all that gravitas with this dark, almost slapstick comedic levity. And he claims this was influenced by sources as disparate as the animated series Rick and Morty and the physical silent comedy of masters like Buster Keaton.
That is a blend you rarely see. Existential grief meets tactical clowning.
Precisely. His whole initial vision was built around exploring what happens when the worst man in existence found salvation, and then that salvation is just violently stripped away from him.
The question he posed was, do the gates of Hades open?
That was it. And he envisioned the character as already deeply revered, a man of fabled reputation, which is why he originally wrote John Wick for an actor in his mid-60s.
So that age was meant to emphasize the sheer weight and longevity of the legend.
Exactly. But then the entire trajectory of the project just shifted.
Right. When Keanu Reeves, who was already involved in negotiations, secured the lead role.
That change in star immediately injected a different kind of energy and, frankly, a different kind of legend into the project.
And here's a detail that just speaks to branding luck. The title was changed from Scorn to John Wick. Why?
Simply because Reeves loved the character's name so much, he just kept referring to the project that way in all the development meetings.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. It was just a happy, accidental piece of branding that stuck, giving the film its iconic, sharp title.
And this wasn't just a case of a star signing a contract and showing up. Reeves was deeply collaborative.
Oh, he was all in. He worked very closely with Kolstad to develop the story. The screenwriter noted the unique depth of their collaboration.
And they spent as much time, sometimes even more, developing the entire ensemble of characters.
The hotel managers, the mechanics, the crime bosses.
As they did on John Wick himself.
Kolstad said that the strength of the storyline lies in even the smallest details. And this process ensured that John wasn't just a stylish killing machine.
He was a sympathetic, grieving man operating within this richly textured, believable, and yes, somewhat bizarre universe.
And then Reeves brought in the single most important element of the film's success.
The directors.
The directors. He recommended Chad Stahelski and David Leitch.
Former stunt coordinators and performers who had worked extensively with him, most notably on the iconic The Matrix trilogy.
And who had recently founded their own company, 8711 Productions.
That was the genius casting decision that had nothing to do with acting.
Totally. Stahelski and Leitch were initially just recommended to choreograph the action. But their pitch went so far beyond mere stunt work.
They impressed Reeves by pitching a vision that wasn't just about high-octane violence.
Right. It was an assassin thriller with a realistic, grounded tone, but set within this otherworldly, sort of subterranean mythological setting.
And their focus was key. They wanted to avoid the cliché badass assassin trope.
They prioritized the themes of loss, humanity, and grief, which establishes John as this walking urban legend who really just wants to be left alone.
It's important to pause here and acknowledge the production reality, though.
The DGA conflict.
Yeah, our sources confirm the Directors Guild of America only co-credited Chad Stahelski as the director.
That's because of some specific internal rules they have about first-time directors who come as a duo. It meant Leitch received a producer credit for the first film.
Which is a vital piece of production insight.
It is, because while they functioned as a directing team, the system forced a split, which is why they eventually followed these divergent career paths, a point we'll definitely explore later.
And regardless of the credit.
Their combined vision, which was so deeply rooted in the world of professional stunt design and execution, is what defined the entire series' visual language.
Now, we have to go back to the dog.
Daisy.
The unique tone they landed on, that blend of high style and profound earnestness, was almost undone by Daisy.
This is that famous controversy during post-production. Producer Basil Iwanek genuinely feared the loss of the puppy.
The final connection to John's wife, Helen,
would just alienate audiences. He was worried they'd roll their eyes and not buy the justification for the spectacular violence that was about to unfold.
Which is understandable from a conventional Hollywood perspective, I guess.
Sure. Usually the villain has to kidnap the hero's family or burn down a city block to justify that kind of carnage. Killing a beagle seems
insufficient.
Yeah. But the source material gives us that incredible anecdote from Stahelski, recalling Reeves's staunch defense of the plot.
He didn't mince words, did he?
Not at all. Stahelski recalled Reeves telling the doubting producers, in essence, "You wanted to make a hardcore action movie, right? Something genre, outside the box, right? So what's wrong?"
And then the kicker.
John Wick kills 80 guys because of a puppy. F you, we're done.
That is a massive commitment to the bit.
It is.
Yeah.
And that defiant, unapologetic attitude is what ultimately locked in the tone of the entire film.
It balanced the exaggerated, high mythological world of assassins and gold coins and secret hotels
with this profound, almost childish earnestness. John is grieving a crushing loss, and the puppy was his final, tangible link to his salvation.
Iwanek admitted he realized it worked after a key test screening.
Yes. The source mentions the moment of realization came during the scene where John's mechanic, Aurelio, tells the crime boss, Viggo Tarasov, exactly what his son did.
Broke into John's house, stole his car.
And killed his dog.
And Viggo's response, that simple, horrified, single-word reply.
Oh.
It landed perfectly with the test audience. They didn't laugh cynically.
No, they laughed in recognition of the sheer impending doom the son had just unleashed. The audience was fully on board with John avenging his puppy.
And that cemented the premise. The emotional core was grounded enough to justify the unbelievable spectacle that followed.
That simple plot device gave the filmmakers permission to go as big and as stylish as they wanted with the action.
We've established the emotional core of the film, but that core only worked because of the revolutionary kinetic delivery.
Right.
So let's look at how the action design, which really started with constraints, just rejected everything Hollywood was doing at the time.
And this revolution begins with the foundation laid by 8711 Action Design.
Their company.
The creation of 8711 is absolutely fundamental to understanding this whole aesthetic shift. It was founded in 1997 by David Leitch and Chad Stahelski in LA.
And the name isn't random, is it?
Not at all. It references their deep history together at the Inosanto Academy Martial Arts School, where they held the instructor roster numbers 87 and 11.
So right away, that tells you their approach to action choreography is rooted in precision.
In precision martial arts, systematic training, and comprehensive performance execution.
And their mission went far beyond just traditional stunt coordination. It was action design.
Exactly. They established a significant physical infrastructure, including a 5,000 square foot facility just for training. They provided specialized equipment and personalized stunt instruction for the cast and talent.
So when an actor steps into an 8711 production, they aren't just memorizing choreography.
No, they are becoming proficient in a wide range of combat disciplines.
Their legacy, according to our sources, is reshaping modern action cinema.
It is. By creating a holistic training model that combines expertise across traditional martial arts, wire work when they need it, specialized tactical firearms, training, tactical shooting, and vehicle stunts.
They're creating versatile action performers, not just actors who can fake a punch.
Exactly. And this professional foundation led to a very deliberate, conscious philosophy about how to film the action.
Which was basically a direct, aggressive rejection of the prevailing Hollywood style of the 2000s and early 2010s.
The dreaded shaky cam and rapid-fire editing. They called it eschewing the style of rapid cuts, showing different angles and close-up shots, because they felt those techniques were inherently manipulative.
They existed to hide things, right?
They existed, as they noted, primarily to hide poor performance, lack of real skill, or flaws in the choreography. And it often resulted in these confusing, chaotic sequences where you couldn't actually tell what was happening.
Or who was fighting whom? It broke your immersion.
Completely. So their solution was clarity through commitment.
They mandated the use of lengthy single takes with a wide view of the action.
Often placing the camera on a dolly or a steady cam, not handheld. This became the mechanism by which they truly immersed you, the audience, in the sleek, meticulous full-body choreography.
Cuts were reserved almost exclusively for covering up unavoidable mistakes, a massive discipline shift for American action cinema.
And here's where we get back to that budgetary irony that became cinematic gold.
Right. This groundbreaking artistic commitment wasn't just a choice of style.
No, it was rooted in undeniable practical limitations. As one producer noted in the source material, they only had enough budget for a single camera setup most of the time.
And they lacked the time or resources for elaborate wire stunts and, crucially, for excessive coverage footage.
Let's clarify coverage footage for our listener, because that term is so central to understanding the 8711 discipline.
Good idea.
Absolutely. Coverage footage is the standard practice in Hollywood editing. You shoot the same action scene from dozens of different angles, close-ups, cutaways.
And then editors use all that footage to splice together the action,
allowing them to shorten moves, hide moments where actors or stunt doubles look awkward, or compensate for a shaky camera. But when you restrict yourself to a single long take,
there's no coverage to hide behind.
Done. You have to nail the performance from start to finish.
So the single hammer setup and lack of time for coverage forced perfection.
And the producer admitted that these strict economic restrictions ultimately resulted in a better action film.
Because it necessitated a focus on continuous, masterful, visible performance from Keanu Reeves and the entire stunt team.
They traded expensive special effects for physical artistry.
And the critics immediately got it.
They did. Reviewers praised the director's decades of stunt experience as a huge benefit, describing the set pieces as among the most beautifully choreographed in American action films for a long time. They noted the incredible fluidity and inventive nature of the combat.
It was a massive cinematic statement that just prioritized craftsmanship.
And that craftsmanship found its specific expression in the birth of Gun Fu,
The signature fighting style of John Wick.
a synthesis of Eastern martial arts and tactical Western firearm handling. It's a hybrid combat system.
The source material points to the influence of Hong Kong action cinema from masters like John Woo.
Right, combined with that deliberate composition we talked about earlier. Gun Fu seamlessly merges aggressive, close-quarters tactical firearms training with various forms of grappling and striking martial arts.
The goal isn't just to shoot the enemy.
No, it's to integrate the weapon into the physical confrontation.
Which brings us back to Keanu Reeves' legendary preparation.
To achieve this level of seamlessness, he underwent 4 months of incredibly intensive training. We're talking multiple hours per day, a strict diet, rigorous conditioning.
This was about creating a unique physical language for John Wick that the camera could capture without cheating.
And the specific disciplines matter because they directly inform John Wick's style. He wasn't just learning movie karate.
No.
He mastered elements of judo, Japanese jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or BJJ in arnis, which is a Filipino martial art focused on stick and blade fighting.
And all of that was combined with tactical gun training provided by legitimate experts.
From the Los Angeles SWAT and Navy SEALs, the real deal.
Okay, so why these specific martial arts? I mean, what is the practical application of, say, Brazilian jiu-jitsu in a gunfight?
That connects directly to the execution of Gun Fu.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu and judo are grappling arts focused on throws, joint locks, and ground fighting.
Yep.
So when John Wick engages an enemy, he doesn't just block a punch. He uses a judo throw or a jiu-jitsu joint lock to immediately incapacitate the opponent.
Or, and this is crucial,
To transition from an uncomfortable, close-quarters grapple to a position of optimal firearm range. He's using the martial art to create the space or the vulnerability necessary to execute the tactical shot.
it's efficiency weaponized.
Exactly. And that emphasis on efficiency extended to everything. Reeves also had to learn specialized stunt driving skills.
Including the complex maneuver of how to drift a car while aiming and firing a gun.
That's the kind of meticulous detail that turns an action scene into a signature, unforgettable sequence. It reinforces the idea that John Wick is simply operating at a level far above his adversaries.
The ultimate expression of the 8711 philosophy, though, was their pragmatic commitment to practical stunts.
And their minimalist use of CGI. They only used computer-generated imagery when it was strictly necessary.
Like digitally adding gun muzzle flashes.
Or completing an extremely dangerous or physically impossible stunt, like John being struck by a car.
The focus always remained on the visceral, in-camera physical performance of the actors and the stunt team.
And that commitment ensures the action feels real, even when the mythology is fantastic. It's performance-driven action cinema, and it set the gold standard for credibility.
So this groundbreaking technical achievement wasn't just good filmmaking, it was the foundation for one of the greatest career comebacks in recent memory.
Absolutely.
As our sources state, John Wick was a groundbreaking role for Keanu Reeves, arriving at a time when he desperately needed a hit.
He really did after those high-profile box office disappointments we mentioned.
It was an undeniable perfect storm of actor and material.
It was. John Wick, the character, is legendary in the narrative, even before the first frame of the film.
Right.
And the character capitalized on Keanu's existing iconic status, his quiet intensity, his natural charisma, his dedication, while simultaneously redefining him as this stylish, almost mythical figure in the criminal underworld.
The appeal was a complex synergy. You had his pragmatism, the slick presentation, and that highly sympathetic revenge story, which provided the moral clarity.
Exactly. He wasn't some convoluted anti-hero. He's a guy who just wanted peace and was forced back into a world of violence.
That emotional core anchored the hyperviolence, making the audience complicit in the carnage.
It did. But critically, his physical dedication had a huge impact that resonated far beyond his own box office.
Right. Reeves's commitment to physically performing many of his own complex combat techniques set a brand new standard for leading action stars in the industry.
And the influence is tangible. Our sources explicitly cite this dedication, directly linking Reeves' approach to the preparation and performance seen by other leading actors in the genre.
It turned stunt-heavy roles into Oscar-caliber physical commitments.
The clearest examples are Charlize Theron's commitment to the complex fighting in Atomic Blonde, which notably was directed by David Leitch, and Bob Odenkirk's deep dive into professional combat training for the movie Nobody. The Wick films proved that audiences craved visibly authentic, highly trained, and clearly filmed action from their leads.
Forcing other productions to increase their standards significantly or risk looking cheap and chaotic by comparison.
That is the enduring, tangible legacy of the Wick standard.
And while Reeves was undergoing his renaissance, his directors became two of the most in-demand creative figures in Hollywood.
Instantly, the success of John Wick launched both Chad Stahelski and David Leitch into the stratosphere of major blockbuster filmmaking.
And their professional paths immediately and strategically diverged, which is fascinating.
It is. After the first film, David Leitch stepped outside the core series, though he kept a producer credit, to focus on directing massive studio tentpole action films.
He essentially became the premier action auteur for hire in Hollywood.
That's a good way to put it. We see that trajectory so clearly in his filmography. He took the 8711 aesthetic and just exported it.
His hits include Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2 in 2018,
Hobbs and Shaw in 2019, and Bullet Train in 2022. He successfully translated that clear, choreography-focused style to huge studio franchises, proving the methodology was commercially viable on the biggest stages.
Meanwhile, Chad Stahelski remained the singular guiding force for the core John Wick narrative.
Right, he directed chapters 2, 3, and 4. This split was really strategic for Lionsgate.
How so?
Leitch marketed the aesthetic, while Stahelski protected and nurtured the brand.
And the collective success of the franchise, which critics are now routinely declaring as one of the greatest action movie franchises of all time, it eventually saw the entire series cross that significant milestone.
Over $1 billion globally.
It's just hard to reconcile the idea that this was ever considered a potential flop.
Absolutely. And Lionsgate recognized Stahelski's singular importance in maintaining this quality and vision. By 2024, he ascended into an even more senior role,
taking on creative oversight for not only the entire John Wick franchise,
but also the highly anticipated reboot of the Highlander franchise for the studio.
So this elevates him beyond a director to a genuine creative architect for their most profitable action properties,
ensuring a unified vision across this burgeoning cinematic universe.
But I have to ask a critical question here. Given the dependency we've established, given that the success of the action style is so reliant on Keanu's commitment, his 4 months of training, his insistence on doing complex stunts, what happens if he eventually steps away or decides he's done with the physical toll?
That's a great question.
Is the entire 8711 aesthetic sustainable without that level of star devotion, or does the franchise become too constrained by that one man?
That is the existential challenge facing the franchise. And it's one that the expansion strategy, which we're about to get into, is designed to mitigate.
Okay.
The 8711 style is technically reproducible, but it demands an actor capable of performing. However, the true solution is not finding a replacement John Wick. It's proving that the universe is the star.
So that's why we see Lionsgate pivoting towards projects that use the aesthetic.
The kinetic camera work, the detailed choreography.
But they apply it to new, highly skilled characters like Ballerina, played by Ana de Armas, and Kane, played by Donnie Yen.
Exactly. They're betting the brand on the rules and the mythology, freeing themselves from the absolute dependency on John Wick himself.
So let's follow that thread and talk about world building. What made John Wick so adaptable wasn't just the action, it was the sprawling criminal mythology that was introduced in the first film and meticulously expanded in every single chapter.
It is the framework of order applied to chaos.
That's a great way to put it. This is the rich backdrop that allowed one simple revenge movie to become a full-fledged cinematic universe.
The franchise established this incredibly dense subterranean underworld built on a strict, globally enforced code, a rigid economy, and a rigid hierarchy.
And this framework provides an infinite supply of narrative possibilities for spin-offs that, as we just discussed, don't necessarily need John Wick present to function.
Exactly.
So we need to clearly define the 3 key structural pillars of this mythology: the high table, the Continental, and the specific currencies they use.
The building blocks.
Tell us more about the high table, that council of global power.
The high table is the ruling body, a council of 12 high-level leaders of world society. They operate in the shadows, enforcing the assassin rules globally. They represent the supreme ancient authority in this secret world.
Its existence implies a secret political structure that spans centuries.
And it dictates global conflict, treating it like a vast regulated industry. It's almost medieval in its formality, just hidden beneath our modern surface.
And directly below them, enforcing the rules on the ground, is the Continental hotel chain.
The sanctuary, the neutral ground.
And the Continental operates under two sacred, unbreakable rules that are the source of all conflict in the Wickverse.
Rule number 1, no business, meaning no killing, is conducted on Continental grounds. It's neutral territory.
Ensuring the assassins have one place to rest and conduct non-violent administrative affairs.
And rule number 2, every marker must be honored.
And violating either of these rules results in being made excommunicado.
Which effectively puts a global, unlimited contract on your head, guaranteeing immediate existential peril. This regulatory framework generates inherent, immediate conflict for any protagonist who steps out of line, including John Wick himself.
And all of this conflict is paid for by the specialized gold coins. This is not just cash, is it?
No. These coins are a brilliant narrative device. They act as both fiscal currency for goods and services within the underworld, for room service, custom suits, weapons.
And crucially, they serve as an ethical currency for honor-bound favors.
And then you have the marker, which is the ultimate ethical currency. This is a specific blood oath, usually sealed with a thumbprint, binding one's soul to an unbreakable life-debt favor.
By establishing such intricate, visually distinct rules so early on, the franchise gave itself endless expansion possibilities.
And the illusion of historical depth.
So let's break down the current slate of upcoming projects because it's a textbook blueprint for strategic modern franchise management by Lionsgate.
It really is.
We already saw the prequel miniseries, The Continental, from the world of John Wick.
Right. That series, which was released in late 2023, was a very deliberate attempt to establish the foundations of the universe without relying on John Wick.
It was set in 1970s New York City and focused on a younger Winston Scott, the Continental manager, and Charon, the concierge.
And the strategic decision to set it in the 70s allowed the show to explore how these ancient rules were established in a more anarchic, pre-digital era.
The plot was centered on Winston attempting to seize control of the hotel from the violent manager at the time, Cormac O'Connor.
Exactly. It explored the genesis of the hotel's neutral territory status and how Winston rose to power. And it wasn't just a simple power struggle.
No, the series introduced a new character, KD,
who was seeking vengeance against Winston and his brother Frankie for a crime they committed on Cormac's orders. But she ends up realizing Cormac is the greater evil and aligns with Winston.
The series culminates with Winston killing the adjudicator of the high table right in front of the hotel,
which cements his rule and demonstrates the early brutal power plays that define the management of the Continental. This show proved the mythology can carry a narrative without Keanu.
And coming up soon is the first major film spin-off, Ballerina.
Ballerina, scheduled for a 2025 release, is another critical strategic move. It stars Ana de Armas as Eve Macaro, a Rosco-Roma assassin on a quest for revenge.
And the key detail here is its chronology. It is specifically set during the events of Chapter 3 Parabellum.
Right, and why is setting it during Chapter 3 such a smart, strategic move for the franchise?
Well, it allows the franchise to leverage established timeline events. John Wick is running around excommunicado, causing global mayhem without demanding Keanu's full physical presence throughout the film.
Exactly. It allows the audience to experience the established, exciting world from a fresh perspective, through the eyes of Eve Macaro, who is clearly driven by her own equally intense vengeance narrative.
It proves the universe is a shared ecosystem of deadly characters, not just a backdrop for one man.
And that focus on expanding charismatic side characters continues with the untitled Kane film,
following Donnie Yen's fan-favorite character from Chapter 4.
This project is extremely exciting because it confirms the export potential of the Wickverse, especially globally.
Donnie Yen will not only star as the blind assassin Kane, but also direct the film,
bringing an established international sensibility to the 8711 aesthetic. Mattson Tomlin is developing the script, and it's also anticipated that Rina Sawayama's character Akira will reprise her role.
So it ensures the expansion continues to pull in compelling characters introduced late in the main series, offering audiences new stories with familiar, beloved faces.
We also have confirmation of future core sequels and adjacent animated projects. Work on John Wick. Chapter 5 officially resumed in late 2023.
After the industry strikes were resolved?
Right. Stahelski and Reeves are confirmed to return, but Stahelski has been very clear that the story will be really different.
They originally planned to film chapters 4 and 5 back-to-back, didn't they?
They did, but Stahelski deliberately pulled back, stating he needed time to grow as a filmmaker and create 2 meaningfully successful and separate installments.
Which points to a careful, quality over speed approach that Lionsgate has wisely endorsed.
They don't want to dilute the core brand. And the franchise is also moving aggressively into animation and television.
Right, expanding the narrative options.
Absolutely. Lionsgate confirmed an untitled anime prequel film is in development, with Keanu Reeves expected to voice John Wick himself.
That's strategically smart. Animation allows them to explore John's earlier life, his legendary status.
And perhaps the massive body count attributed to him in a stylized, non-live-action format that avoids the physical constraints of a live-action prequel.
And beyond that, Chad Stahelski confirmed a second TV series, John Wick, Under the High Table.
This is a massive piece of news for the franchise's future. Stahelski described it as a more cinematic, non-Continental TV show.
And critically, this series is set after the events of Chapter 4.
Yes. The show is explicitly set in a world where John's actions, his defiance, his chaos, his challenge to the status quo, have left the entire criminal underworld in chaos.
This is the strategic pivot to the consequence of John's legend.
Exactly. And finally, they're making a major institutional push into AAA gaming.
Recognizing the direct appeal of the action design to that medium.
This signals that Lionsgate is explicitly viewing AAA gaming as a meaningfully additive financial opportunity. They're developing an authentic AAA John Wick action game for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC.
Which is distinct from the previous tactical RPG, John Wick Hex.
Very distinct. This push, alongside continued expansions into comic books, pinball machines, and character crossovers like Eve McCarroll, being added to games like Call of Duty. Black Ops 6 shows that the ultimate goal is total media saturation.
Leveraging the 8711 aesthetic across every platform.
The one revenge story has evolved into a fully realized multi-platform mythological universe.
So what does this all mean?
I mean, the John Wick phenomenon is just a textbook example of turning limitations into strengths.
And recognizing that mythology and meticulous craftsmanship are far more valuable than bloated budgets and cheap tricks.
We can confidently summarize the franchise's success on 4 pillars that just work together perfectly. 1. An emotionally simple and deeply relatable premise. The dog that gave John the moral high ground to unleash a world of mythological violence.
2. Directors from the stunt world, 8711, who rejected confusing action trends like shaky cam and prioritized clear, lengthy, meticulously choreographed action, often because they had to financially.
3. Keanu Reeves' physical commitment and iconic presence, which revived his career and set a new gold standard for action stars like Theron and Odenkirk.
And 4. The clever, massive expansion of the mythological rules, the high table, the coins, the Continental, ensuring the franchise can live on indefinitely.
Making the universe, not just the protagonist, the central appeal.
What began as a simple tale of vengeance has truly evolved into a defining moment in kinetic action filmmaking and smart franchise management.
It provides a crucial aha moment for how the industry can be successfully disrupted by prioritizing visible, quality action and compelling world governance.
Indeed. Considering the tremendous critical and financial success of Chapter 4 and the immediate aggressive expansion into projects like Ballerina and the Kane film, the franchise has cemented its global reach.
It has. However, if the entire John Wick universe is built on ancient, unbreakable rules, such as the sanctity of the Continental grounds and the honoring of markers, what new, even more profound consequence will the criminal underworld face when the upcoming John Wick Under the High Table TV series begins?
A series set explicitly in a world described as being in chaos due to John's actions.
Which raises an important question for you to consider. Can a structure built entirely on strict sacred order survive the fundamental legendary chaos created by its own greatest asset?
It's something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.